here. I think I know everyone. We have Andy Craig, our branch leader. We have Pat Staffa, our other sales manager. And we have Olivia McMahon, who you may have met as well. She's new to our team over the last 6 months, but her role is really helping agents with their marketing. Some of you have met with her and sat down and done social media marketing. She can do all of our toolkits for you. Anything you need marketing related, she's here to help support your business and grow. But today we're here brainstorming with Tom on how we can help agents better understand Cash2Keys, better understand the market, better go to market and take more business and help more people utilizing some of our cash strategies. How did we get where we are today, right? Inventory is a challenge. Would everyone kind of agree with that? That's probably our #1 challenge. So we've been telling the story for the last 3 years. In fact, it just got retold today by Barry Habib. If you don't know who Barry Habib is, he owns and runs and operates NBS Highway, which is a place that a lot of people go to get information about the markets, about interest rates, about economics. And 3 years ago, he gave a presentation, and this is even before Cash2Keys. He gave a presentation about why are we here, okay? And it really has to do not with COVID, not with interest rates, but really the first 2 slides. And for those that are online, you can download this. It says Mastermind to follow along, but there's really just 2 slides I want to review. The first one is birth rates. These are the birth rates in America going back since the Great Depression, and it's divided by generations. Starting with, during the Great Depression, baby boomers, my generation, the Gen Xers, millennial, and then post-millennial. And, everyone wants to refer to what's going on right now to what happened in the mid-2000s, right? We had a housing crisis, financial crisis, economic crisis. The reality is my generation, this little blue circle right here, I was born in 1976, we were the lowest birth rates in America going back the last 100 years. And it says average housing formation starts around 33 years of age. So when my generation started having kids in the mid-2000s, there just wasn't a lot of us to have to support the housing that was being built. On the second page looks at housing inventory going back the last 60 years. And if you look right at this huge spike right here is 2006. Massive inventory was being built in the mid-2000s. And there just wasn't enough of us to eat up all of that inventory. So it made sense. And later on top of that, bad mortgage practices, right? I mean, anybody got a loan back then. They had the Ninja loans, the Neg Am loans, the ARM loans, like just bad mortgage lending practices. It led to what we went through now. However, right now, we're right at this peak. And Barry Habib today said that the average housing formation is pushed out to about age 36. So we're talking about people that are born in the late 80s, early 90s, needing to buy a home to support their families, okay? But if you look at inventory, I mean, we're coming back good, but we're kind of stalled out. And we've been on hold for a really long time with new housing starts. There's just not enough houses to handle the number of people that want to own a home. Not to mention the baby boomer generation, which want to sell, but they're in their homes with either an incredibly low interest rate, or maybe they own their house outright, and they're like, where am I going to go? They're living more active lives, they're living healthier, they can go up and down stairs longer, right? So the inventory that they would release to help out these new family formations isn't coming to market either, right? So we're stuck, right? How do we help people when the market's slightly stuck and give them a competitive edge? And that's kind of the backdrop that, born Cash2Keys 3 years ago, our owner Joe P sat around and said, how could we help our clients, how can we help our agents? And someone said, why don't we just bought houses for people cash? Ha ha ha. That conversation led to what Cash2Keys was. It was the 3rd quarter, September 2021, and we wrote our first Cash2Keys contract out of this office. Chris, Basil, who's online, he wrote the first contract, and we did 2 that month. The Soul Traders wrote the other one. And since then, we've closed over 900 Cash2Keys transactions as a company, and a lot of them out of Keller Williams. So one of the biggest adopters of the program is Tom and his team. Right, so we want to go through some use cases today on how can you add this tool into your tool belt to be able to go to market to take more listings, check your commissions, and also help more clients in this market.
So let me jump in here because today I want you to think about this. Just take off your real estate hat for 1 second. Look at it simply as this. If you're going to go build a deck right now, you would bring a toolbox and bring a bunch of stuff to go build that deck. You wouldn't come with an empty toolbox, right? Well, in this challenging market, you're gonna need some other things in your toolbox that will help you get past those things. And we've done it successfully with almost every situation we've been in. We've kind of turned, and we're finding new ways, and we found one yesterday
Yes.
where we were able to help a couple that was really getting over the anxiety. So today, think about it this way. All we're trying to do is fill your toolbox full of things that can help you get that next sale and be the realtor of choice for your people. So it's really that simple. Don't make it any harder than that. So, I mean, that when they say cash to keys up here, you think, oh, cash to keys, but you got to understand how it can help you in your business. And what we're going to go over today is we're going to go over what his product is and then how we utilize it to actually break buyers into houses. Does that make sense?
Perfect. So the first thing I would say to do is don't think of Cash to Keys as a product, like something you pull off the shelf. Cash to Keys is a platform. It's a new way of doing business. It's a new way of transacting. It's a new way of going to market and getting deals put together. And underneath of that, Michelle, how are you?
Good.
Absolutely. So there's two ways to use Cash to Keys. There's two different use cases available underneath the platform. The first one, which is the one that we talk the most about, and probably the one we've seen the biggest traction, is what's known as buy now, sell later. Okay, that is for somebody that is home sale contingent. I would like to buy a new home, but I need or want to sell my existing house first. How easy is it in this market to get a contingent offer accepted? Is it easy?
No.
It's not. Why? Why is it not easy to get a contingent offer accepted?
Because a lot of things can happen on the other end.
A lot of things can happen on the other end. Read, like what? Give me some examples.
Like you're dependent on other people, like the other buyer can fall through on your house that's contingent, and then that messes up your house that you're trying to buy.
Right. Right. There's a lot of things that can
Things
happen on that
yeah.
contingency that can make that deal fall apart. And we actually have a use case that Alexa's first deal on that exact same situation. But thankfully they were Cash to Keys. Perfect. You know, the seller, they just want to sell. They just want top dollar. They want to do it in the quickest, most efficient, less friction possible, right? So there's two deals on the table. Let's say $400,000 is the asking price and you get two offers. One is cash and the other one is, I need to sell my house. Which offer are we taking? Cash? Yes? Okay, but what if that person that was contingent just lost 10 offers in a row? Now they're getting kind of desperate. And they come back and say, you know what, we're gonna pay you $410 for that house. Are you gonna take $410 with the contingency versus 400 cash? Anybody? 410? How about 420?
Maybe.
430?
Possibly.
All day.
Is it gonna appraise?
Yeah.
I'll guarantee it.
Yeah.
Is there appraisal got covered?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're right, though, these are things that are being offered, gap coverage and all this.
And the reason I bring that up is that, and we'll get into some of the fee structure later. But a lot of people poo-poo Cash to Keys because they feel that it's an expensive option for buying a home and like, why would I pay for something I never had to do before? I said, the reality is the cost of waiting, frustration, fatigue, overpayment, desperation, all of the things that are gonna cause someone to go to market and do something that's not necessarily in their best financial interest is gonna far outweigh the costs of potentially utilizing Cash to Keys. And the reason I say potentially is half our clients who use buy now, sell later pay nothing extra. It's free for them. The other half end up paying a little bit of extra cost, but that little bit of extra cost is far less than what they're gonna pay in trying to get that contingent to stick. Okay, so buy now, sell later helps those people go to market as a non-contingent cash buyer. How do we do it? Right, there's a two-step approval process. Number one, we ask ourselves a question: would we give this person a mortgage once their house sells? So we're gonna do credit, income, and assets. We're gonna review everything with the assumption that their house is now sold. Perfect. We'd love to give them a mortgage. The second piece is we evaluate their existing house, the house that they currently own. We want to know that, one, it's sellable, and we want to have a very good idea of what we think it could sell for. We give a little bit of a market haircut to allow for future volatility. And if there's enough net proceeds after that sale, after that haircut, that says, yeah, I can complete the next transaction, perfect. You're now approved as a Cash to Keys client. And as agents, You will represent Cash2Keys as the buyer. We go to market as the buyer. We will buy the new house, the house your client wants, cash. Okay, we close. They can move into it as though it's their own. And then as soon as you get their home sold, we're gonna resell it to them for the same price we paid. That is buy now, sell later in a nutshell. There's a process, we don't have to go through it right now, we can do it case by case, but there's a process flow in your little packages here. It talks about the process. And the one thing that I like to point out there is when you list a house is completely up to you. It could be on the market now, it could be under contract now. You can list it after we go under contract to buy the new house. You can list it after we buy the house and then you've moved into it. It gives you listing flexibility to do what's right for the client. So you can net them the most amount of money in the most efficient manner that works for them. Too often when you connect the outcomes, right? I want to go buy a home and I need to sell at the same time. You're kind of like combining the outcomes. Maybe you go and do something where you're overpaying, or maybe you're taking not the best offer because it gets you out of your contingency. It really allows you as agents to operate as a buyer agent, negotiate with cash, and a listing agent focused on getting top dollar for your client. It attaches the outcome, allows you to operate the best of both worlds. So let's get into some use cases. I'll stop right there. Any quick questions about the process?
I want to tag in for a little bit because what they hear on their end is that they have, I'm sure if you have somebody that wants to list their home for sale, what is the first thing they tell you? As soon as you come out to list their home, what is the first thing they say? They don't know where to go. No idea where they're going. And they're afraid that, oh my God, I don't want to give up this to go somewhere I don't know where I'm going to go. Well, this actually takes us out because if you actually are approved with that program, the Cash2Keys program, they can literally find their house first, go into the house, and then sell their house. And it gives them, listen, for a seller, it gives them a plethora of flexibility because some of them might want to do it the same day. Some of them might want to say, you know what, I want to move in slowly, or I want to do something with the house before I actually move into it. And this gives me the time to buy the house, own it, start to do the painting, carpets, whatever, and then move my stuff in gradually without this, moving trucks back to back. So it really, when I say it takes the calm to the client, it calms them down where they're like, and we're gonna give you like live examples where we use this as recently as last night.
Yes.
Where we literally calmed this couple was so neurotic, they would have never bought a house had we not had that program.
No, 2 weeks ago, was it?
2 weeks.
They emailed us and they said that it's too much, they're gonna stay. The market's crazy. We looked at a couple houses and they were just distraught and they were done. And Tom works on approving them through Cash2Keys. And they found a new construction that's already almost done. It's perfect for them. And the time frame is just perfect. So we're gonna use Cash2Keys and hopefully settle in the same day. So there's.
And when I say they were neurotic,
They're
we
so
went to
neurotic.
their house, I had all the listing paperwork signed. They said, no, we don't want to do it, and then after
Wait,
they.
you went out to the house, you had multiple phone calls, you had in-person meetings.
Actually, no,
I had an in-person buyer consult with them. We like literally, everything was in person, the hours upon hours, then they just got scared.
it all started with when I went to their house, and they were like, look, we want to downsize. We want to go to this area, maybe closer to our commute from work, and that's how my son was the appointment, and they're like, but we don't have a house to go to, we don't know where we're going. I'm like, well, have you figured that out first? They said, no. I said, okay. I was like, and this is where I said, like, all right, so you're afraid to sell this, and listen, they put more on top of it. They had a bad experience with a realtor. They were forced to buy a house they didn't want to buy because before they had done this, and they were scared to death. So they were like uber sensitive about this whole thing. And I said, what if we have a program? I mean, what if I were to tell you that you could literally find your house first, buy that home, and then sell your home? I'm like, what? I'm like, yes. What I'm telling, if we have a program, if you qualify for the program, you're gonna be able to find your house first, buy it, and then sell your home and move in for the time frame you want within reason. And they were like, there's something like that? I'm like, yes. And I always carry the Cash2Keys pamphlet because again, it's in my toolbox, because if I have that objection, I want to have a counter that objection. And as soon as I said that to the husband, I could just see that whole, like the weight come off of his face. I mean, he was just looking at me and was like, wait, you're telling me that I could do, and he asked me like 3 times. I'm like, yes, the first time and yes, the third time. See, and he's like, I gotta learn about this program. I gave him the pamphlet that keep my toolbox. Gave it to him. He called me up the next day. He's like, I'm interested in that program. He said, that would really, for my wife, who's very neurotic, I need to calm her down, and I think this can do it. Put him in touch with Tom. They discussed it with Tom. They actually listed their property, started showing or seeing properties of Lexus, and then had cold feet and then backed out, and then found the new construction. We're able to apply that Cash2Keys to the new construction, because of course, the new construction is going to have a contingency.
No, they
So
will not, well,
they
not
wouldn't even-
all of them, some will, but.
they wouldn't
this
be able
owner
to
would not.
buy the house that they picked had they had a contingency of their house set. And we were able to do the Cash2Keys to actually purchase that house, which Cash2Keys is gonna buy the house. And then we're gonna sell the house, and it's probably, we're gonna make that pretty.
Moral of
close
the
to same.
story is they would not be able to buy this house, and it is really perfect for them. They wouldn't have had the opportunity. Because they wouldn't have gone on contingent, so
And you're talking about almost $1 million transaction between them
Yeah.
selling their house and then the buying.
combined, both of them, yeah, about $1 million.
And especially since that house was just about done.
Yeah, end of August, delivery date, yep, and there's only 4 lots left in the neighborhood in this phase, and there's, they probably, the Cash2Keys is the reason why they're gonna be buying and selling. Without Cash2Keys, they wouldn't have been doing it, and we have so many
Hey,
clients.
Tom, I have a question.
Aspen has a question.
Yeah, Aspen.
So who actually sells the house when it's time for the house to be sold?
Which
Of
house?
course.
The seller's house. So the seller's house, once Cash2Keys buys it from them,
No,
so that they can buy their own house.
Cash2Keys is buying the
Did I
house.
hear
they're
that wrong?
going to, not the house they're in.
They're
Did you get
buying
that?
Okay, all right. I misheard you.
Cash2Keys is buying the new construction home for the buyer. The seller is still currently in
Oh.
their current home.
Aspen, that's a
I
great question.
see.
Because that's probably one of the #1 questions we get is Cash2Keys is gonna buy their existing house, right? In fact, this builder thought that that's what they were gonna do, and it took myself and Andy being on the phone with them last night to explain to them, like, no, we're not buying their existing house. We're buying the new house, right? We're removing all of the contingencies because we, as the buyer, Cash2Keys goes on the contract, we buy it cash. We're basically holding on to it for them, letting them live there. And then as soon as you, Aspen, as their agent, sell their existing house, we then have what's called a part 2 settlement, where Cash2Keys simply resells the home that we paid cash for to them for the same price that we paid, right? So that completely unlocks the market, allows them to move all the money they want into the transaction and not having to be stressed out trying to make it all happen the same day.
One important thing to Aspen is, like, for my clients that have done it, it's been possible because there is a rent, obviously you're paying rent to AnnieMac, but you're not paying it in that moment, you pay it in with your closing costs. So you're not carrying 2 homes, that's a big thing, you're not having the carrying costs. A lot of people, even if they can go non-contingent, don't go non-contingent because they don't wanna risk owning 2 homes at the same time and carrying 2 mortgages. So that's huge,
Right.
and the little cost, I mean, it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not much at all. You add it into your closing costs and really when you're selling a house, it goes right in, it's just, you don't even really see
So
it.
since we're talking about costs, can we go into the 2 examples that we have about the clients that we actually. They went to Cash2Keys, they bought their home,
My 2 crazy ones, you mean?
but here's the thing, you talk about cost, but here's what I want you all to know. In this scenario, the first one on Winslow Road,
Okay,
So-
so, yeah, you want me to tell?
you tell me.
Okay. So I had a listing appointment in Williamstown, a beautiful house. They,
High level,
by level, really cute house, around 400,000 or so.
but no.
No, that
That
one's,
was too soon.
yeah, so it was very cute, anyway. They found their dream home and there were multiple offers, it was in township, a $600,000 house, beautiful, this market, it's insane. They wanted this house, they went in over asking and they were able to do that with the Cash2Keys cash offer. Over asking, they beat out everybody else. The agent knew of the Cash2Keys program a little bit and felt comfortable with it. So the only reason they were picked, and I confirmed this with the seller's agent, was because they were cash through Cash2Keys. But the bigger part of this was that in that process, we were getting their house on the market and getting it sold.
Can I jump in here? Can I do the rest of that?
No, because you don't. That was my no, I'll finish it. Thank you.
It was a bylaw.
Let me finish. So we have to, under contract, to settle in the same day. They were gonna settle the same day
With a cash buyer.
with a cash buyer. Fell through. And we had multiple offers too on this house. It was adorable. So it fell through. They're freaking out. They don't know what to do. We get it back on the market. Long story short, we went through 4 buyers, but at that point in time, and it was nothing to do with the seller. At that point in time, the sellers moved out of that house. Cash2Keys had bought the new house and they moved into the new house. Once they moved into the new house, carpets looked just worn. You saw all the nicks on the walls because they had 3 kids and a dog, and it was a cute house, but with their furniture in it, it looked adorable, but now it doesn't show so well. So they had the ability to get painters in, new carpet put in. We did a little bit of work to the house, finally found another buyer. They wound up carrying that house technically for another like 4 months. Their cost, can I say the total cost? It was big. It was about a $30,000 cost for Cash2Keys because the house that they bought was 600 and some thousand. They said to me, I still talk to them all the time. They said, despite the cost, it was well worth it because we never would have gotten into this house if it wasn't for Cash2Keys. We never could have seen all of these problems. Buyers that just kept backing out for crazy reasons. One buyer lost their job a week before from closing. It was like crazy stuff that was out of everyone's control. And maybe it was a little under 30,000 because they wound up getting more money for the house also. But they wound up saying to this day, best thing we ever did. We never would have gotten this house if it wasn't for Cash2Keys. And at the end of the day, we didn't have to stress about carrying both of these houses. There was a little bit of a cost that we had to take on, but it was worth it.
So what was the, I'm sorry, what was the 30,000, what did that cover, what was included in that?
So with Cash2Keys, if we buy the home. Right, because some people are able to make it all line up and have the same day. In that example, it was free, and that's what this client was intending to do. We got under Cash2Keys. We were under contract to buy. Tom got a buyer for their home that was cash. So think about that. They had a cash buyer on their house the week, and we did all the assignments. We gave them the contract. They were lining up perfectly to where they would sell to this cash buyer in the morning, and they would buy directly from the seller on this new home in the afternoon. That is free. There's no cost for that. The week of closing, that cash buyer backed out. Cash can't back out, right? They backed out. We took the contract back, we closed.
Which is amazing.
Yep.
So it switched within a week
Good.
back.
So when we purchased the house, there's a series of 3 costs, right? There's a 1% fee that Cash2Keys would keep. So in this example, it's a $600,000
It was a
purchase, $6,000. They pay the transfer tax when they buy the house back from Cash2Keys. They're not paying it twice. When the seller sells to Cash2Keys, the seller pays the transfer tax. When we resell it to the end buyer, the state's not giving us any deals. There's another round of transfer tax. So on a $6,000 deal, that's probably about $5,000. So that's about 11,000. And then there's a daily rental rate that applies.
And because it was a $600,000 house, the rent was high,
Yeah.
taxes were like
But
high.
But they're not paying it out of pocket, they're not writing us a monthly rent check, it simply approves. And I think it was about 3.5 months.
Yeah, something like that. So it really would have been like a mortgage payment with the taxes. So it wasn't wasted money, it just basically they didn't have to carry in the moment those 2 houses.
On average, it's about 30 days if Cash2Keys buys until we resell it to the consumer. And if they had hit that average, which their second buyer was in line to make that happen, and then they got bad financing and they fell out, wasn't us. But imagine they didn't have Cash2Keys, right? We're making a phone call the week before closing, like, hey, that contingent cash deal they had, gone. We gotta extend the contract, but we don't want to extend, we want to cancel the contract, right? So we were able to buy that. And almost all of the costs are tied into the net proceeds, and that's why we do that evaluation of their home. So we have a really good, clear understanding that if it does go 3-4 months, that they have enough money to cover all that carrying costs. Again, they're not paying out of pocket, they're living in this home, carrying on their life, enjoying their new home, and they simply settle up when they get their house sold.
Here's another win I want to add in here that they're not saying, I'm gonna show you that. So the house was cute, but it was dated. It was older people, older furniture.
No, it wasn't, that's a different one. I'm sorry, it wasn't, it was adorable, it was farmhouse, sorry. It had a white kitchen, it was adorable, it was just lived in, it wasn't outdated, the bathroom was updated, everything was updated, it was just lived in.
Is that on the corner of Winslow Road? and-
Yes, it was adorable, yes, it was very.
Long story being
They
short,
they had the ability to fix the property up to make it look better, to get more money out of it. That was my point I was trying to make.
It's the concept.
So-
That was, it was.
I know,
So-
she doesn't get it.
I wanna ask you.
what was the final sales price compared to the first contract that you had? How much more?
That's Miss Noel.
I think it was like 10,000 more, maybe 10, it might, 10 or 15,000 more.
Because we got 325 for it.
What was the difference in the original sale price to
And then-
the final?
I'm sorry, was that
So something
$60,000?
Yeah.
I'm curious too, though, the $600,000 house that they ended up getting.
Yeah,
That same house today, if it was be listed
Ah.
in Washington Township, what do you think the market?
And that's 2 years since we did it.
So-
What do you think that house price is
one
today?
just went in there, not as big, I don't think I had a pool, maybe like, I have to look and see, I don't think it's sold yet. I had an offer on it for 650 and we didn't get it, so,
$50,000 more.
yeah.
Now, so if they just let everything fall apart and said, you know what, we're gonna wait till the other property comes to the market. And they're gonna pay $50,000 more for it.
And sometimes that cleaning it up definitely helps them to make money.
What-
Yeah. It was a really big house, decorated, with stuff everybody loved her decor, 'cause it was a farmhouse. But when you move out, you just see like.
Politics is
same.
dated.
But exactly,
But that's two different opinions.
But what Tom was saying, the first contract was like 275,
We'll call
right? And the final sales price was in the
325. I
325.
think we sold for it, at the end, it sold for 325.
So with the amount of work that they put into the property, it was about a $50,000 increase in potential sales price, which more than covered the cost of utilizing the program and then fixing up the home. They basically washed out. So while there was an added cost for using the program because it took so long because they couldn't find a buyer to stick, they were able to pretty much wash out their cost of utilizing the program in this example.
So AnnieMac at their first closing.
Yeah.
You paid off the mortgage?
No, all we did was purchase a new home, cash.
Okay,
So-
so they still had to carry the other mortgage.
They just continued to pay their existing house, but they're not paying anything on the new house until after they buy it back from us,
Okay.
okay? So
That
they
rent
just continue making that payment.
continues.
Okay, I've got a two-part question. So if they have a home, the cost that they have to pay to Cash2Keys will come out of the proceeds of their home. They have to have enough, to be able to cover that. But is this program viable for someone that looks like who doesn't have a home and they are credit worthy and you purchase a home for them, say they don't have a home because with the market, they're trying to get their offer approved because everybody's beating them out in offers. Would they have to be approved with enough money like overage to cover a cost to you guys since they don't have anything to sell?
So that's a great question,
Okay,
and that falls under the second version of the program. which-
oh, okay,
which
I
we
wasn't
simply
sure,
call-
I'm there yet.
No, great question.
I was
Simply called,
We're going there, but
Okay.
we're trying to show you this part.
that one is simply called cash offer.
Okay.
Just
We'll come back to that one.
Just for clarity, so in this situation where they haven't sold their original home yet, the Johnsons, they're still paying their mortgage payment, but the rent that you're talking, the daily rent is accruing on the value of the new property.
Correct, it's based on the purchase price of the new home.
And the taxes, like all that, yeah. So this one was a bigger property with high taxes, which is why it was a little higher. I just did one recently and her out of pocket was like minimal and I think you guys carry that for like 3 months too.
Buzzfeed.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one was a
So
interesting
it's
one.
actually better if the person is prepared initially to go ahead and put the house on the market, because it kind of would narrow that accruing of that rent.
There won't be any, yeah.
Perfect world, yes.
In a perfect world, yes, but we give that control to you and them. And that's why I call it strategic flexibility, right? You can have it listed, you can have it under contract. We even had people come in and like, hey, I'm under contract, but I'm not getting my under contract contingent offers accepted. I'm still contingent. Maybe they fall, maybe that contract falls apart. So you can list anytime you want. We're not gonna tell you when to list it, other than once we purchase the home. We buy the house, we want it listed within 15 days.
14.
14 days, excuse me, I would say 15. But 14 days, and then we give them 6 months to sell the existing house. At the end of that 6 months, if they haven't sold, which I can't imagine that happening in this market, but if it did happen in this market, they will have agreed to sell us the house at about an 80% value of what we evaluated it at. I think that's happened once in 3 years. In the
Wow.
situation, they were in California, they moved back here. California market shifted a little bit, they were asking too much for the house, but here locally, I don't think we've bought any house. Every single house is sold within that 6 months.
So you're saying in that scenario, they were moving back here, they had to sell their home there.
Yep.
They found their home here. You bought the home through Cash2Keys and they had 15 days to list that house.
That house out there has to be on the market within 14 days
14 days.
of us purchasing the new home.
And then 6 months. to
And then
sell.
from there, you got 6 months to sell.
Okay.
I have a question online.
Yes.
Why 14 days before they get their house on the market? 30 would be better. Most of the sellers are old and hoarders. They need time. For 14 days.
The powers that be above my pay grade decided that, listen, we don't really wanna buy people's houses. We're doing it because that's our value proposition, that we're gonna go to market and unlock all that equity. So the goal for us isn't to hold on to this property for 6 months, we really don't wanna buy it at all, but we will. We just want them to get it on the market within those 14 days. Now, if there's a hoarder situation that they can't get all that stuff out in 14 days, the best policy is communication, right? If we know that it might take a little extra time, please communicate that with us. You know, we had a situation very similar to that, that Lexus was involved in, where somebody had lived in their home for about 50 years, widowed, 50 years of stuff, and that house wasn't gonna sell, or if it did sell, it wasn't gonna sell for anywhere near market value. So we did the buy now, sell later, we went in a competitive 55 and older community, got it done, she moved into that home, decluttered the home, they did some renovations on that existing house, so it took a little bit longer than we would have liked to get on the market, but how much more money did they net?
So I think I probably would have listed the house for 350 with no work being done on it. It most likely would have only gotten investors because it needed work. And I think we would have gotten anywhere from like 325 to 350 probably, because investors probably wouldn't have wanted to pay more than like 325 is what I'm thinking. So Cash2Keys AnnieMac is so good to me. They allowed us, it took her about 30 days to get out of the house before I could even start getting any work done. And then 30 days to get the work done. So it took 2 months before we listed, which they were not happy, but they were very good to us. And we got $465 for the house. So I think I did the math for them, and based off of the renovations that were put in, I think her out of pocket, including like transfer tax, like all of that was like $8 grand. It was like not much at all, because the house she bought was smaller, it was a little 55 and over. So she wound up netting, I think it was like $90,000 more on the house with all fees and all costs, and she was ecstatic. So it was a good thing that they did that.
So she would have never been able to get that money had she stayed.
She would have never bought the house.
intentionally,
Yeah,
And now she'd be able to net more money out because of the.
yeah, and the house she bought had multiple offers again. We went in with a cash offer through Cash2Keys. And so she wouldn't have gotten that house. She definitely wouldn't have, she would never have been able to buy it, because all her money was tied up in the home that she was currently living in. Just the whole situation worked out phenomenally for her, and she's so happy.
We had another use case, now think about this situation, I had somebody who unfortunately was widowed. Husband died unexpectedly, lived in their home for 30 years, raised their kids there, grandkids came over all the time. She lived, mourned for a year, and was like, all right, I don't need this, 4-bedroom house anymore, but it's 4 years of stuff. Like imagine, and she was contingent, imagine, number one, getting a contingent offer accepted, and number two, she ended up buying a 2-bedroom condo, taking 40 years of stuff and moving it on the same day for a woman who's 70 years old into a 2-bedroom condo. Like, just imagine the stress and frustration of what that would do. Not to include all the emotion associated with doing that. Cash2Keys bought the 2-bedroom condo, closed in 30 days. She was able to move into it, paint it, clean it, declutter her existing house, move in the things that she truly wanted, and then 30 days later sold her 4-bedroom home and got absolute top dollar for it. But it's not just about the ability to go to market and be a non-contingent cash buyer. It's also the ability of removing stress and moving the emotion, making it easier for everybody to execute and operate. And when you start thinking about the costs, and no one wants to pay anything extra for something that they don't think they need. But when you measure the cost of doing something versus the stress and emotion involved in not doing something, and everyone comes to the same conclusion. This is a great platform to help your clients execute at a better level.
And all these sales would have never happened.
No,
They would never happen.
Never had.
And the fact that people could actually do a little bit of work to their house and get it, or just clean it, or get it decluttered and just get it looking, its best to get it sold. I mean, in this kind of a market, even though there's not a lot of inventory, when houses aren't showing well, we know we're not selling them. So it's a big thing and AnnieMac is like you said, communication. If you just communicate with what's going on, they're awesome. They really are.
We're here to
Just
support
add this,
growth.
and I didn't do this, but when I sold my house 2 years ago, I'm selling it to friends who like had to be out of their place where they were by a certain date. So the pressure was on me, and so I literally had to go rent an apartment. It's a nice apartment, but I still had to go rent for 11 months. I did find somebody who would let us out once we found a house, but it took us 11 months to find another home. So not only did I incur that rent, I also had to pay, and now I had a 5-bedroom house with 4 full baths, all kind of furniture. And I didn't know where I was going. So the difference was, so I held on to more. I mean, I kind of knew that I was looking for like a 55 and over or something like that. But I still had so much stuff. And so I paid for movers twice. I had two storage units. And then when we moved in, and they had to have 2 trucks. When they brought the stuff to the house where we were moving, I just thought that the furniture was gonna be on the grass all night long. And finally, between the garage and we have a loft and all that, they threw everything in there, but I'm still kind of digging out. So in that particular case, it would have been nice to know kind of where I was
Had a place
going.
to go.
And then I could have
Makes a lot
gotten
of
rid of
stress.
a lot more things at that time.
Yeah.
Still being stressed out.
And what comes to mind there, Cheryl, is something I tell clients all the time. We can't predict when your client's dream home is gonna hit the market. I just can't. I don't know. You can do your buyer consult, what's gonna get you to move? What's gonna get you to make an offer? What's gonna get you to buy? I don't know, right? Or hey, this is it. This is the unicorn. And great, the unicorn hits the market. How many other people have that same dream? Right? We know in this competitive market that being able to present a non-contingent cash offer, whether you own a home or don't own a home, could be a first-time home buyer, being able to present that cash is gonna give you a fighting chance. That doesn't mean you're gonna win every one, but on average, our clients get their contract accepted by the second offer. Right, that's unheard of in this market for people that have financed home sale contingencies. Right, so it's allowing you to operate better. It's reducing buyer fatigue. It's helping them get a better price on the home. Like all of those things is why Cash2Keys is built to help you execute better. The first example, the first one I think we did with your team was actually a first-time home buyer, Lally, Kate. She was one of Tara's clients, I believe. And they were cash approved. They found a beautiful home in Pittman that was already under contract, just went under contract. And that contract was somebody that was contingent. And we presented the cash offer. That agent canceled the contract that they had with the contingent buyer and took ours, and we closed in 12 days. So cash approved, made a cash offer, closed in 12 days.
And I'm gonna tell you something about these guys, that one thing I commend them on is that not everybody actually knows the program or understands the program. They will get on the phone with the agent to explain it to them so that they understand the value in it. And I think that's wonderful because like, as an
I
agent,
was
you
just
can
gonna say the same
say
thing.
it. But I mean, when they get on the phone and they're convincing about the product, the people get off the phone and usually we get a positive result from the other agent once they've talked to them.
Yeah.
And they will do that willingly.
Whichever loan officer, yeah.
Sellers.
Tom does it for all my clients.
The seller explain, the listing agent and the seller explain it to them.
Yeah, the listing agent, it's important because if they don't know the program and some agents don't, and they're like, well, what is this? Why, like, it looks like one of those weird, online. Yeah, like weird, you're like, I don't know if I
It's
know,
not real
whenever they talk to Tom or Andy or whoever you're working with.
Talking to the agent brings you more business.
Our business has
You've got it.
grown because of the
Yeah.
fact that we're in the market doing something different, and putting ourselves out there to be different. We've embraced this product at the highest possible level we can, because we see the good it's doing. We do not get paid to sell Cash2Keys. We get paid to give people money to go buy homes. That is what we do. We facilitate people's dreams of building families by giving them the money to do so, but we can't give them the money if they can't get their offer accepted, right? So it's about getting the offer accepted. It's about you taking a new listing when someone's sitting there saying, I don't wanna buy right now, rates are too high. I don't wanna buy right now, I have no place to go. I'm contingent, I'm this. There's a million objections keeping people from making smart financial decisions for the family. Like this customer that's buying, they needed to downsize. They were frustrated by the market. they dipped their toe and looked at 2 properties like that's not for me, I can't compete in this market. And because we, we didn't pressure them, totally be there for them, they came around, once they cooled off, now they're getting a beautiful brand new construction home. By utilizing a program that's letting them do it.
And let me say this too, you don't realize this, but have you ever like thought of something, but you've never done it, but then you got really purposeful and then it happened?
Sure.
Well, when you give the buyer the ability to actually buy a house and they think they have cash in their pocket, they get really purposeful about what they want. And they will get it. I mean, they will go out and get it. That's what I said. This person came back, it wasn't a week later. It was a week later when they, even though they backed off, they came right back to us because they knew that they could do this. They knew that they had the right program to do it, and they went forward with it. They got really purposeful about it, and then again, pick an area we didn't even know we were looking for.
Yeah, totally
And then-
different.
Yeah, so.
And Alexis had a couple clients that went through the approval process, but ended up not using it. The beautiful thing about Cash2Keys is at the end of the approval process, you have a fully committed loan, minus the title and our appraisal report. We're doing a full underwrite, credit, income, and assets up front. Sometimes they make the decision, you know what? I don't wanna use that program. I don't wanna pay the extra fees.
But having that approval has helped me also, because when I get a full Cash2Keys approval, Tom will usually send me a regular pre-approval as well. And then I'll submit an offer for my clients, and I let them know that they're approved through Cash2Keys. They went through a rigorous 2-week approval process. All of their documents have been reviewed and looked at, and then here's their regular approval. They're submitting an offer with, normal mortgage, mortgage offer, whatever conventional, but however, they could go Cash2Keys. They are like A+ solid, and that has helped my offers get accepted as well, knowing that they've
And
gone.
sometimes listing agents say, wait, their Cash2Keys approved, you know what? We trust you, we're just gonna do a regular contract.
Yep.
Again, getting them in the door, introducing them to the process, introducing them to our team, just gives them so much more confidence when they're in the open market. And when you have a confident buyer, that makes things happen better.
We
Question?
had 2 questions, but it was answered asking how is the approval written? Does it say cash offer? Then they said cash approval, yes. And then another question is there a higher interest rate? I'm sorry if we discussed this already.
That's 2 great questions. So on buy now, sell later, that is a cash offer. Cash2Keys is the buyer. So we go on the offer, they get a cash approval letter behind that telling them what we're doing with buy now, sell later. On cash offer, the customer goes on that contract. And they get a cash guarantee in that contract. There's some language that gets added to the contract, and we'll get you all that information. But they go on the contract and basically says if they can't perform, they get cold feet, they lose their job, they spend their money, they bought a refrigerator, whatever, something happens that causes the deal to fall apart, and they're under Cash2Keys umbrella, that guarantee kicks in, and Cash2Keys will purchase that home under the cash offer. So buy now, sell later, we're on the contract, and either we're gonna buy it or assign it to them if they get their home sold, or cash offer, they get the guarantee. Pat actually had a customer not too long ago, the week of closing, they got laid off. Got laid off? Unexpectedly. What happens in a normal transaction? You postpone. Everyone loses, everyone. In this case. But what was it that I missed it?
I own a lot of my support, so.
I remember that day.
Last week, things coming out of the field with Cash2Keys.
Cash2Keys stepped in, we purchased the property. Listing agent was in disbelief, the seller got exactly what they wanted. We gave them enough time to allow them to find a new job, it was about 3 weeks, verified it, resold the property, so. Again, we're protecting the market, protecting your commissions.
So you're giving them like the bank letter for cash buyers. You're the bank, basically.
The Andy is.
A lot of things that stand out when talking to agents, it's not real cash, you may need an appraisal, yada, yada, yada. Like Tom mentioned before, a cash buyer walked away at the 11th hour. With Cash2Keys, that'll never happen. We're always gonna buy that home no matter what. So you're getting the guarantee to get to the settlement table regardless of what happens, whether the buyer wants it or not. You're never gonna get a guarantee like that from anyone else. Mortgage or cash.
One thing also, guys, like this is a lot of information and we've done so many of them and I still don't know everything. So I don't pretend to know with my clients. I tell them it's a great program, it's a great tool, and I tell them that they need to talk to Tom or Andy or whoever you're working with. Like whoever you're working with, let them sell the program because we don't really know what we're talking about.
That's exactly what happened with Elaine last night. She had called me.
About our buyers.
Correct, and
Yeah.
I walked her through everything, okay, I got it now, because we had just closed the transaction with her.
Okay.
When we were trying to use Cash2Keys, we couldn't because it wasn't a finished spec. It was gonna take 9 months to get built. So if it's a normal construction time frame, we won't do Cash2Keys because the time frame has to be about 4 months is the longest length of the contract that will go. So we ended up we went non-contingent to get the offer accepted because you have to on those of any new construction, but she knew the process.
Yeah.
So then when she got that offer, she was like, Andy's my safety net, I guess, right? Because I had a relationship with her. Which goes to show we've had so many conversations between all of us in South Jersey with agents from Central Jersey or Eastern PA too, but a lot in South Jersey where when that offer's coming through, they're like, okay, I know Tom, I know Pat, I know Andy, I know a little bit about Cash2Keys. I know it's a rigorous approval process. To your guys' point, sometimes they don't use the Cash2Keys option, but we still go to contract and get what your buyer wants. We're always advocating for you and the buyer, and we want you to include us in these conversations when you're presenting the offer.
Yep.
Don't try and do it alone. Do it with us. We're gonna support all of it so that the agent is very comfortable because they're the ones sitting down at that seller's kitchen table with a spreadsheet or whatever they had, because they got 16 offers and they're going, well, this one's Cash2Keys, I don't really understand it.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
or would happen if you didn't.
Correct. So.
But like last night,
Yeah.
you guys were all on conference call, Tom in Tom's office with the buyer, Tom Pickett's there.
The
The
builder.
builder's on the phone, Andy's on the phone with the other builder, like,
Yeah.
this is the service that we get. And our client got the house, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You know, what can you do from here, right? Contact us, have a conversation. Right, we were talking before, it's like, I think I get it, but I don't have a use case yet, but I think I have some coming. You know, don't feel like you have to know everything. You have the people here to help educate you. Educate your clients, walk them through the process, make them feel really good about it. There's a piece to this puzzle I haven't talked too much about yet, but you'll see it on the process flows. A welcome call. We have a whole department dedicated to Cash2Keys. You'll get assigned a home purchase coordinator. Their job is to review contracts, review properties. They send out the approvals. They work with you and your customers. We have a weekend team, so if you're out on a Sunday trying to make a cash offer, once they're cash approved, they're there to help support that. I'm always there to support that as well. So you're not doing this alone, right? So reach out to any one of us. Olivia's been an integral part with the social media and the marketing. You know, we're gonna make sure that everyone has access to our real toolkit, which is all customizable information that you can sit down with a customer on a listing appointment or buyer consultation, social media. So please use these tools. They're set up for you. If you feel like you're the kind of person that really wants to go down the rabbit hole and learn more on your own, we have a certification class you can take on demand, which is great. It's 30 minutes. It's gonna give you more exposure to what the program does. And use us, right? Give us a shot, right? If you got somebody out there that's been making offers with no success, give us a shot. If you got somebody that's been holding off because of whatever reason, give us a shot. Our number one user of the client is what I call first time home sellers. These are people who bought 3 to 10 years ago that bought at a really good price, probably not a lot of money down. They've probably grown their families, had some kids, improved their careers. They are sitting on a mountain of money. If you want to be successful in this business moving forward, I've always heard being here at Keller for the last 10 years, you have to take listings. And with what's happening with NAR, I would much rather be on the listing side of the world than the buyer side of the world. By going out and showing people how they can become stronger, more competitive buyers without having to have their home sold right away, I think you're gonna get more listings. And that first time home seller is so powerful. The second biggest user are the downsizers. Those people that are somewhere between 55 and 70, who've empty nesters, they got too much house, they still don't know what to do. You think because they've owned a home for 30 years, they know everything about real estate, they don't.
And 55 and over communities are so competitive right
Oh,
now.
gosh.
They're so top, so having this tool to get in there is, this will be like a couple that we've done 55 and over.
Have your peers, right? Tom Duffy's team's done a bunch, Mike Lenz's team, Dan Moss, Josh Baer, Kevin Saccone, Tim Kerr's team. Some of the top producing agents here have used this. We did the Circle of Excellence last year. There was 12 platinum winners. There was 10 of them, I think we figured, that were involved with Cash2Keys, whether on the buy side or the listing side. Of the people that were gold, it was like 70% of them had touched Cash2Keys. Top producing agents understand the power of leveraging cash and removing contingency. So just, yeah, we wanted this tool needs to be in your tool belt. And hopefully this encourages you to learn more and use the tools here available, us, team, to make it all happen for you.
If you guys have questions, like, from an agent perspective, you can all reach out to myself.
Can we touch on the buyer side of this program?
So like a first time home buyer piece, you got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, so cash offer is really designed for people who don't need to sell. Most of the people using that are first time home buyers. Limited down payment, not a lot of funds available, to be able to make competitive offers. So simply by adding the cash component to it is gonna move them up the chain, right? It's gonna make their offer stand out a little bit more competitive. Does it remove the need to do an appraisal? No, it does not. We do have some internal programs that we're using quite a bit that's providing them some money. I put examples in the flyers and online, they should be in there as well. One's called Borrow Smart Access. That's a Freddie Mac $3,000 credit. And it doesn't have to be repaid. It's not a lien. You don't have to go to the state. We do it internally. So get $3,000. The woman close today got $3,000.
And AnnieMac, you guys were the only ones that are doing this, right? I
Sure.
think so.
No, Freddie Mac tapped us on the shoulder and asked us to pilot the program last year. We had 50 units to produce. I think we ended up using about 40 of them. They give us another 100 units to produce. So when they're gone, they're gone. The other one is something that's called Home Start. Home Start is an $8,000 credit. That is designed on where they live now. So they could be living in a house currently that will qualify them to get $8,000 to go buy a new home. Yeah, it's not only, doesn't have to go through the state, doesn't have to repay, there's no income limits, they can move anywhere. You move in any place. It's all based on where they live right now. So if you have first time home buyers out there that are maybe lined up with the state, trying to get that state money, let us take a look at it. We can do a simple property address run and determine if they may qualify for this $8,000. They can get a better, it's a conventional loan. They don't have to repay the money. It's
Reduced mortgage insurance. It's a really good loan product. We have our first one closing Thursday. So we just launched the program. They qualified for the $8,000 as a first time buyer. There's two people. They're both first time buyers. One lives in Hatboro, PA. His Hatboro address did not qualify her. She lived in Pine Hill. The Pine Hill address qualified her. They did a quick education course in the underwriting process. We gave them $8,000. They went out and made a cash offer, but this is what we did with the $8,000. The offer that they made was on a 439 list. They offered 445 with a $4,000 appraisal gap coverage, although with the cash back. Agent came back and said, we like your offer, but your gap coverage is a little low on that purchase price. So we qualified them for the 8. We took 5 of that 8,000. Now we made a $9,000 appraisal gap, so we won the contract. So now we're using that grant money to make them more competitive, even though they got a low down payment. The offer's reading as cash. We run the appraisal. We're going to guarantee some appraisal gap coverage. Now in the hierarchy of offers, you're going to jump to the top with everybody else.
And see how I just explained that? I couldn't do that, so that's why I use these guys.
That's what I'm thinking.
Let them do the talking.
Somebody got this now.
All you gotta know is it's giving you the support to get that thing.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's all we want you guys to know. The rest of it they can take.
That's our job.
Yeah, that's
Stuff.
right.
Your job is to go out and talk. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, so it doesn't matter, right?
so VA buyers can use Cash to Keys and will make cash offers, which helps improve the quality of their offers.
Yeah, because I'm having a problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have one last question online from Carol. How long after the seller sells their home do they close with you? Is it a quick process or just like buying a home?
It's just like buying a home, Carol. So the process is we buy the house for them, new house. They can move in. You sell their house as quickly as they feel comfortable selling it. Ideally, sooner the better. It saves them money and it gets them transitioned faster.
Are they asking how quick does
Yeah.
AnnieMac sell them?
back.
So it's the same day. So if I'm selling my original house, AnnieMac bought my new house, and I'm going to settlement on my older home, I'm going right from my settlement to the next settlement and buying my AnnieMac owned home in the same day.
She said no on the back end.
Oh, okay. So like if you didn't sell it the same day and it took a while to resell your house.
Yeah.
how
Within the
quick is that
6 month
turnaround?
period, let's just say that they said, hey, I sold my house.
Yeah.
Or how quickly can she?
Purchase back
Purchase
from
back,
Annie Mac,
yeah.
probably.
Yes,
As quickly as possible.
Quickly as possible.
It's usually same day.
Yeah.
Same day that you sell.
But if it goes past-
So
They already, AnnieMac bought the house, They sold their house,
Okay.
how quickly we can buy that?
The same day.
Same day.
That's
Yeah.
Same day.
Same day that they sold it.
Everyone that I got has been same
No.
day.
That's the answer.
It's your
Same day
answer,
that they
right?
sold it.
Yes, same day.
Even though you're buying it,
Yeah,
we're
so
buying
let's,
it
so
from
let's,
you.
so we buy a house today, cash. We do this for you, let's say you're the buyer, but we bought you this house today. You move in today,
Okay.
She said, wow, that's great.
you sell your existing house a month from now,
Okay.
okay? That same day that you sell, we're gonna resell this new home to you for the same price that same day. So we bought today, you moved into it. 30 days from now, you sell your house, you have all your money from that sale. We'll walk right into the next settlement and you buy the house back from Cash to Keys.
It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it doesn't matter.
Well, I got that, but can you still? I'm selling my house, you bought my AnnieMac house. But I'm selling my house, is there any way that we can coordinate all this on the same day? You buy and settle, I sell and settle, and then I have to buy from you?
No, so in that example, we will assign the contract to you,
Gotcha.
right? So Cash to Keys has this cash contract, you have your home sold, you can make it all happen the same day.
Same day, okay.
We'll give you the contract, you'll sell, and you'll buy directly from the seller. That's perfect, because it costs you nothing.
Right,
There's
but it's
no
still a
added
cash
cost.
offer.
Sure.
Yep.
But from the
Yes,
seller's
got it.
perspective, they're getting exactly what they wanted on the day of settlement, the money you agreed to pay them.
Okay.
Whether we gave them the cash or you give them the money from the sale of your house, they're getting exactly what they wanted, a sold deal at the price agreed upon.
Okay.
So, and in the contract, they're aware that we can assign the contract to you in the event that you're able to sell your home and remove that contingency. Someone asked the question, do we, are the interest rates different? The answer is no. We're gonna give them the same mortgage package, whether they buy directly from the seller or they buy directly from Cash to Keys. We're not marking up the mortgage in any way, shape or form because we have this new platform for doing business, but the mortgage product is gonna be the same.
Is the credit, is there like an ideal credit score that you're looking for with this program that's different than anything else? And just real quickly, the next question is, it's possible with the cost, like you just said, the sooner you make your sale, you're gonna spend less money for Cash to Keys, so it doesn't have to cost you X amount of dollars. The faster you get it done, the less you're gonna pay. Is that right? Okay.
100% correct. From a credit perspective,
Mhm.
buy now, sell later. If they're gonna do 5% down on the next purchase, which they can, 680 or better credit score. If they're gonna do 10% or more down, we'll go down to a 660.
Okay.
On the credit rating, right, so it's pretty robust.
Okay.
With buy now, sell later, it's conventional and it's VA. Can't do FHA because of the flip rule. There's some rules there to prevent us from reselling the property in the time that we would like to.
Okay.
On cash offer, pretty much if it scores, we're good. Is it 640 Andy or 620? For cash offer?
640.
640 on cash offer.
That's all in VA.
A little bit more robust and we can do conventional, VA, and sometimes FHA on a case by case basis, depending on the profile.
Alright, for the cash offer, so I have a first time home buyer. She uses the grant through conventional. Are you looking at her, I know you're looking at them, but are you? How do you determine, okay, we're gonna guarantee you with a cash offer, but you have X amount of money in all these bank accounts and it might, like, is there a limit, is there?
So, to answer the first part of that, we don't marry cash offer with the state products. So that's a standalone, right? So if you wanna go to the state to get their grant money, which we do tons of them.
Okay,
Sold you this month, right? So there's good product, but it's limited, right? So with Cash to Keys, cash offer, first time home buyers, we're gonna look to marry them up with one of the two programs that we talked about that's in your flyer, either the $3,000 credit. Or the $8,000.
because they're going to need the state offer.
Right, I had that conversation with someone today.
Coming from somewhere else.
Yeah,
So you can't marry your two products, your two grants, your 3,000, your 8,000.
you pick one. One's through Freddie Mac, one's through Fannie Mae. And they both partnered with us on both of these, but you're not combining those, so the state's great, but it comes with its challenges. Currently, no refinancing, you gotta hold on to it 5 years, can't do that, like.
Use the state, why would?
Yeah, and and I think it puts clients at a potential competitive disadvantage a little bit, because if it's competitive, we don't wanna deal with the state.
So then, how about the her bank accounts, would you look at, where you have this X amount in your account, what?
Yeah, so we're gonna take them through that full underwriting process up front and gather up all that documentation. So we can present it to the underwriter and say, hey, we think we have a good candidate for not only cash to keys, but maybe one of our first time home buyer products. So we're gonna bring all that information in ahead of time, review it, and present that so we have a full underwriting approval.
Are you asking if there's like limits on what they could have in the bank? Like, why are you asking? Just trying to understand what you mean about that.
Meetings, like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
we don't, you might not qualify for this cash offer portion because you might have too much money. Like, is there, obviously, if there's a lot of money, she's not gonna need it, but is there some?
You're right, there's a limit,
somewhere?
it says no income limits, right?
So the grant stuff, the credits that we talked about, there's no limitations there. There's an income limitation on the one that offers 3,000, can't make too much money for that, but it's pretty robust. The one with 8,000, there's no income limitations there. There's no asset, you know, too much money, you can't qualify like the state. We're in the process of launching a new Cash2Keys program, but I don't want to even touch on that today, that may solve for someone that has too much money. But really the key here is focusing on how you can use buy now, sell later to have a different conversation with people that need the list. And cash offer for people who want to make more competitive cash offers.
So that 3 and 8 is what you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
I think I missed the first part of that.
Yeah, so something like that, we'll review the profile and we're gonna identify pretty quickly, do we think they can fit into one of these alternative programs?
Mhm.
You know, so we'll guide them through that. If I were an agent, I'd be like, hey, give Tom a call, give Andy a call, give Pat a call. They have some really cool products that might be able to, number one, turn you into a cash buyer, and also be able to give you some money to help offset your down payment costs.
And really take the pressure off you. Say, look, I sell real estate, this is what they do, put them in the hands of the professionals that can figure that program that works for them, because what you might think might not be the best thing, you might have something better.
Yeah.
And the consultative approach is exactly that, right? We want to be educated about what their options are, give them choices so they can go out and make the right decision, get the house they want, in the fewest amount of offers possible. That's the goal.
Good question.
Yes.
On buying it, how would say a buyer concession reimbursement, how would that come into play? Commission?
If there was.
Well, you buy it from the owner
Mhm.
and then it's gonna be transferred to the person for the buying agent. How could commissions be managed?
Yeah, so your buyer agency agreement is gonna be your buyer agency agreement with the buyer.
Okay,
Okay. If it's gonna be negotiated on the sale side through whether the seller's agreeing to pay that commission
the
or
original.
to negotiate it through a seller concession, if there's a concession, that concession is gonna follow all the way through to the finish
Okay,
line.
right.
Right, so if we end up buying the home, that concession's there, you know, we're gonna earmark that concession and make sure it's available for them when they repurchase. From us. Everything's passed through directly to the end buyer.
Okay.
You know, one of the things we talked about is protecting agent commission, right? Buy now, sell later. I think if you give people the opportunity to where if you're gonna go to market as a cash buyer, and we already know how much money they're gonna get when they sell their house, because we do that calculation, and you know they have enough money to pay your buyer agent commission. I think you can go to market as a cash buyer, not worried about negotiating agent commission on the purchase from the seller, and just negotiate on the back end through the net proceeds of that calculation. So I think when this thing comes in its final stage, I think there's gonna be some room here with buy now, sell later to actually buy a home at a lower price than what they would pay when trying to negotiate in their commissions and be able to just be a better, you know, go to market at a better strike price. You know, in that series, if you're gonna bid up the property price to cover your commission, in reality, they're paying interest on that if they get a loan forever. Right, so that 2% or 3% commission, wherever you end up getting built into the sales price, may end up costing them a heck of a lot more down the road. But if they just pay it via cash because you already have it, you can go to market and be a much more competitive buyer and get that house at a better net price for the buyer.
Yeah.
And know that you're gonna be taken care of when they repurchase the property from Cash2Keys.
Good
I
idea.
think it's gonna be a very powerful strategy as this thing unfolds for you to be able to help these clients not only secure their property faster, but at a better price.
Where
And still
right
be
now you
covered.
get paid the commission when the house sells from the original seller. And then when the buyer buys from AnnieMac, you don't get a second commission, it's just one commission.
One more question.
Yep.
We went over the credit. We went over the income, you need, suitable income, and then your assets, like, I remember I had sent somebody to you and he made excellent money, but he had zero, well, not zero assets, he only had like a couple $1,000 in it, and we couldn't help him. What is the number you're looking for?
So the monies that we need to verify that are liquid are enough to make a deposit. So we get them approved, go to map market, we get an offer accepted. They're gonna make a deposit with the title partner. That's 3.5% of the purchase price. That money needs to be liquid.
In their account, right?
The checking, savings,
Okay.
portfolio, if it's in a retirement
mattress
account
money.
and not mattress money. If it's in a retirement, he has to pull it out. He has to take the money out,
Okay,
okay? They can get a gift. Right, so there's some strategies there, it just depends on what their current liquid situation looks
I
like.
don't think he was willing,
And that a lot of
I
people,
don't think he was willing to pull it out.
and that maybe
That
it
comes with a
is.
penalty, so.
Yeah.
Not typically, if it's like a 401k, you can pull it out to purchase a house
Yeah.
in most situations without being penalized.
Yeah, and we're
I
gonna review
don't
that.
remember exactly what kind of account it was, to be honest
Some
with
people
you.
can pull money out, some people can't. Every 401k is uniquely different, and that's when we talk to them, we go through this consultation, we're gonna discover what monies they have available. You know, we're starting to experiment with people who are in a buy now, sell later. We have the ability to potentially add on a line of credit, right? So maybe we give them a small $90,000 line of credit or something like that to get them some money to meet those needs, right? So there's some strategies there where they don't necessarily have the money in play to figure it out, right? But we're gonna do that through the consultation.
Okay.
So is this helpful, guys, like to get some more things that you didn't know about in your toolbox, so that when you're up against, whether it be a buyer that's losing property offers all the time, or a seller who's a little uneasy because they really want to find a house first before they sell them? I mean, do you realize how powerful this is in your toolbox?
Yeah, you can use it in any scenario really, which is great. And don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Let him do all that.
Yeah, let me overcomplicate.
Yeah, let him do it.
it.
Yeah, let
Send
him
the buyer
deal with
the
the complication. Don't about getting them approved and how much they need. I always just let them do the talk.
We're not trying to make you loan officers. We're
Yeah.
just trying to teach about a program that you can utilize.
Yeah, we want you to take more listings, we want you to help more people faster, just get paid quicker, you know, time kills all deals. But if you got a buyer that's been making offer after offer after offer after offer, they just get frustrated. And they either fall off or they spend more money than they probably need to. And so for those people, this really helps. And for that person who's just looking at the market, my rates are too high, my current rate's too low, there's nothing to buy. Let's talk to them, right? We have some great tools that we can share with them. Live buying now might be one of the best buying decisions they ever made. Because rates will come down.
Which I didn't know was interest rate went up in my years. Yeah, a long time.
But I know,
Don't be that person that says, I wish I would have known that then. Be the person that knows it now.
but with everyone waiting for interest rates to come down, and they will at some point, it's only gonna drive pricing higher. Because of what's happening with inventory, what's happening with new housing starts, like, make them money by buying more. We can always refinance later and save them even more money, but by waiting, they're costing their future selves lots of money.
Basically, marry the house, don't the rate.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll
Thank you.
leave you with this real quick. Gary and I have a deal together. I gotta say, because he's in here. How long have we been under contract?
February 27th.
February 27th.
Is that Jordan? Yeah, but that, but the property, we bought it contingent upon that seller finding suitable housing. They took forever.
Yeah, and they didn't want a contingency, though, so we were able to be flexible enough for the buyer. That when he sells this house, it's gonna sell overnight, obviously the one he has to sell probably, very nice property. That's gonna sell for what, mid-5s, I would say, maybe? Six. And the house he's buying is, what are we at, 740. So look at those two deals, and that seller wouldn't have accepted our offer unless we could make him non-contingent. So normally we won't go out more than 4 months on the contract, but we baked some stuff in there. We were gonna allow us to do a reevaluation of not only his credit profile, but the home he had to sell. We did all that. We re-upped the contract through the end of August. Today, Gary sends me a contract that seller
So finally.
finally found the house. They're buying it in cash. And we're gonna try and maybe do all this August 9th, who knows, we'll see.
Everybody makes
But
good money.
but yeah, that is massive, right?
But look at the volume involved in
All of
that.
it, it's crazy, yeah.
And the creativity that goes into like figuring all that out.
So, Guys, thank you for your time today. We
Yes.
appreciate your time. We hope that we've given you something you can actually take out there. Go sell a house.
We want every one of you to do a Cash2Keys transaction this summer.
Thank you.
Christmas in July.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You, sir.
All right, good pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. That probably.
I can't ever call.
It's tough, it's tough. Yeah. Always.